This is Scott Richmond
and Arnie Sherman.
You're listening to What Do You Know on Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM. Arnie Sherman, good morning to you. How are you today?
Good. Don't you love this time of year?
I do. It's crisp.
Yeah, it's crisp. The hours are getting shorter, and that means just one thing to guys like us.
Yeah.
The beginning of the mega sports season, right?
Which we both love.
Right. I mean, I started leafing through newspapers the other day, and they have, back to school, all the back to school specials, right? And
yep.
If you're down at the local Ace Hardware, people are talking about fall planting, right? But for guys like us that don't have kids going back to public school or aren't planting in the fall, what this means is golf's going on, baseball is heading into the playoffs, college football starts next week, the opening of college football. The NFL is in its preseason. NHL is going to start soon. NBA is going to start soon.
Preseason.
No one's going to see us anymore. We're going to be in our man caves.
Yes.
Watching this, this wide array of every sport, happening at the same time. Even golf. The U.S. Open was a couple of weeks ago with Justin Thomas winning. We're going to be moving into, more of the final golf tournaments of the year. I mean, everything is in full, all 8 cylinders go.
So you won't see us come up for air until probably the end of February.
Right. If you're,
But then NBA All-Star. When is NBA All-Star?
And we're talking about the major sports. We're not including soccer or NASCAR or the pro rodeo circuit or any of that stuff. We're just talking about the major stuff. And when we were growing up, for example, college football was not in that major group as much.
Not at all.
No. I mean, it was baseball followed by pro football and then the NBA.
Yeah.
But now, not only college football, but it moves right into, it overlaps with the college basketball season at the very end. And NCAA basketball is also at its peak. But literally, we're right in that thin window here where almost every sport is up and operational again.
It's exciting.
And to commemorate that this week, we have a guest from Learfield Sports who's joining us.
Grizzly Athletics, yep.
Yeah, who is
Todd Rahr.
Todd Rahr, the new person here. And for our listeners, Learfield Sports basically handles all of the marketing, not only for the Griz and the Montana Bobcats, but for dozens of other college teams, the mascots, the logos, the ticket sales, the concession sales, the marketing, the advertising. It's no longer, for many colleges, done by in-house staff.
Right.
It's done in coordination with the university, with an outside entity that has an expertise in taking this, to
and monetizing
it. Monetizing it. I mean, let's face it, one of the most recognizable symbols of sports in Montana is Monty. The Griz mascot.
Yeah, sure.
And the Montana logo, and we'll talk to Todd about that. But the Montana logo and Montana branding is one of the most sought after brandings in college sports.
The marks.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. And what's nice about Todd is, and I think you're going to love him because he is a minor league baseball. That's where his history is in minor league baseball.
Right.
So knowing what a big baseball fan you are, Arnie, and I saw your guy hit a home run recently. That was last night. Actually, I don't know. But anyway.
He's going to keep hitting home runs.
He's going to keep hitting
night
Judge.
Aaron Judge. Here comes the Judge.
Here comes the Judge. But anyway, Arnie, I know how much you like baseball, so you'll have a lot to talk with Todd Rahr about. He is the executive director of Grizzly Athletics.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to talking to him, particularly as we're heating up and in the frenzy of the all sports, all the time period of the year.
I can't wait for Griz season, and here we come. All right, Arnie, back after this. Remember, we are proudly supported by Don Maddox, Glacier Sotheby's International Realty. You're listening to What Do You Know on KGVO. Back after this. Okay, we are back with Todd Rahr.
Todd.
Hello.
Welcome to Missoula. How long have you been here?
Let's see, 60-something days, something like that.
So you've never even seen a Griz football game live?
Not unless it was on TV.
Okay.
Nope, I have
but
not seen one.
You haven't been in the festive, intensive, focused atmosphere of Griz football?
No, but I know Tony Romo thinks a lot of it. So
well, he came here and lost.
Yes, exactly. So I know that it's a loud place, and when you first step out on that field and you say, "Holy cow, where do the guys stand?" I mean, there is no sidelines. There's also no place to put a net for the field goal,
right?
And all that. And
you're going to get to hear the cannon. You're going to hear about the storied history of the team. It's one of the few places in America on a football Saturday you can get free beer and free hot dogs and free food before the game at all the tailgates.
Your per caps are going down.
I know. Jeez.
A few years back, there was a front page on US Today sports section that was split in half, and they said the two best atmospheres for college football in America, and they had University of Miami in Florida, and the Grizzly in Missoula, Montana. It's, a big venue versus,
I can't even say that I could even see Miami being on that.
I know. That's what they had.
How could it be Miami?
It was Miami as a place where there was a lot of atmosphere.
Fanfare?
What
about Ohio Stadium or Michigan?
I know, but for whatever reason.
Yeah.
My guess is the sportscaster went to University of
That's
Miami.
my guess, too.
It was a hurricane.
Yeah.
But that was the cover, and you'll get a sense of it's not just festive and party; it's just the intensity of interest.
Yeah.
For a town this size to have the number one attendance in FCS football, it's pretty amazing.
No, I'm excited. I came up here from Boise, so
right. Well, you had the Blue Monster.
Yeah, not my favorite thing to watch on TV or look at when you're sitting in the stands. It's kind of an ugly monstrosity, but everybody knows about it.
But a great team for the last dozen years or so or more.
Absolutely. However, I would say the fan base they like to think that they're as fervent as they are here in Missoula. Not even close. Not even close. Yeah, you got a lot of people who like to wear the blue and orange, but,
right?
To call them fans. I don't know if I would.
Now,
I would say.
How long did you spend at Boise State?
So I was in Boise with the Boise Hawks baseball team. I was there for 12 seasons.
Okay,
and they're affiliated with whom?
We were a Cubs team for 11 of those years, and then the Rockies one of those years.
Sure.
And so, a lot of the Cubs guys who played in the World Series last year came right through Boise. Chris Bryant,
I was very
Schwarber,
happy about
all
that.
those guys.
I had lived for 5 years in Chicago, so I had
I
have a warm place in my heart for the Cubs winning the World Series.
No, it was fun watching those guys, and everybody's having a sophomore jinx this year.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting.
Well, it proves how hard it is to repeat, to come back twice.
Absolutely.
It's not like basketball.
No, it's not like basketball where you just load up on the talent and
right.
Well, as we always say,
team.
In basketball, you only need 3 guys. I mean, if you got 3 good guys, you can win it all.
Right.
In baseball, you got to have 30. You got to have more than even the roster because you're going to get players injured, pitchers are going to be injured no matter what team you have.
Yeah.
You got 30, 35 guys that could play ball.
But you spent a lot of time in baseball, right?
Yeah.
So baseball has been very, very good to you.
Very, very good to me, yes. It is. It was my life for 24 years. And
so why'd you come here?
Why'd I come here? Well, let me give you the long
It wasn't the big
straight.
bucks, I can tell you that.
It wasn't. It was bigger bucks. I mean, I'll admit that. But no, I got into baseball straight out of college. I went to Ohio University back in Athens, Ohio. Yes. And
by the way, I was a Bearcat and then Xavier. I went to Cincinnati and Xavier.
Well, you obviously did. You ever go over to Athens for a little?
Yes, I did.
There's a legend called Athens, Ohio, and it's a party town.
It's a great college campus town.
Oh yeah,
it is. It's terrible football tradition, but end of the day, that's where all these sports execs really started. Back in 1959, they started a program. Now everybody's got it. But even when I was going to school, there was only about 10 schools in the country that carried sports management.
Right? Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going there. Got out of college. Actually, my roommate was the brother of a guy who was a general manager in minor league baseball, and I bugged the heck out of the guy to try to get a job. Ended up getting a job in Savannah, Georgia. phone call, basically. Made a phone call, and he
Been
heard
to
I went to
Savannah,
Ohio.
seen that stadium.
Yeah, it is Grayson Stadium, great place. Now they have a team called the Savannah Bananas.
I
and,
know, isn't that the worst name ever?
They're filling the place.
I know.
They're filling the place, but they're giving it away is basically what they're doing. Anyways, not going to go into that.
Digress.
I digress.
But remember, Savannah Bananas.
The
You'll
Savannah
never forget
Bananas.
that.
And then I just had a long, strange trip in baseball. Went to Eugene, Oregon, San Bernardino, California, Springfield, Missouri, and then Boise. And my first GM job was in San Bernardino, and I was a GM after that for, 17, 18 years with the clubs I was with. But Boise for 12 of those. And, in minor league baseball is the granddaddy of creativity.
Right.
Yes.
The Bill Veck.
Midget baseball
midget
players.
Baseball. I mean, if we could do that with every team, you'd do it.
Right.
And, Bat Day started in baseball. Obviously, bats make sense, but those type of giveaways and things along those lines. And now it's kind of gone into all sports. And, the University of Montana came on my radar through a friend who is in Boise recruiting for Learfield. I had gotten out of baseball for 18 months, actually, almost a couple of years, and got into the great world of insurance and about shot myself.
If you want to die a slow death, that's a good way to do it.
It was tough, and it was a health insurance side of it.
Oh, God.
So we're not going to go into that at this point. So I was looking for another job in sports, and this one came up, and always wanted to be in the college space. And
college space is exciting, and wait till I'm just telling you, and our listeners know this. You're in for the treat of your life when you show up on September 2nd for the Valparaiso game.
Yes.
Game that is not a blood match. I don't think we've ever even played them before.
I didn't even know they had a team.
Well, they're coming here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the next week we're going to play UW at UW, and they're ranked 9th in the country.
Which is my hometown.
Yeah.
Well, at least it was
a hell of a game.
Wait a second. So then you're gearing up for the second, and
But you've never seen anything like what you're going to see here. Truthfully.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. So when you found out the opportunity was here with Learfield, and then you came to visit Missoula, what was the first impressions of Missoula?
First impression of Missoula was, man, this is a wet place because it was raining that day.
And then 60 days later, it hasn't rained again.
Exactly. No, it's it's really kind of a small Boise.
Right.
It was my first impression. But after living here, I'm like, man, this place is like Eugene, Oregon.
Yes, it's more like that.
Yeah, it's really like that. Even more, I think some people told me it's like Portland or even a little Seattle.
No, it's more like Eugene.
It's a lot like Eugene, which I know is a lot like Madison, Wisconsin, and places like that. And so I was just really excited to be in a college town.
That's great.
Especially having the Grizzlies, and living in the Northwest most of my life. I've lived more in the Northwest than anywhere. Everybody knows about the Grizzlies.
Right.
I grew up in the Seattle area, and we were obviously big Husky fans, and lived with those guys. I was a Don James era.
Sure.
But
when you were growing up, the Griz would
big.
go up and play and beat Oregon and Oregon State in those days.
Oh, yeah. I lived in Eugene the time that they beat Washington at Autzen Stadium in '94, and that's still what they talk about, which is awful going back there. But it was always like a W on the Huskies schedule, right?
Right.
And so they were teams that weren't really the best of the Pac-10 at the time.
Right.
And Montana going in there. I know Idaho used to do real well with those Pac-10 schools too, the lower end of them. So this conference always had a big name,
right.
wherever.
Now we have teams,
you
like Eastern Washington, which are powerhouses.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they can
worst
upset
field
a lot
on
of
the
big
planet.
boys. Yeah.
Yeah, worst field on the planet. But
that's almost as ugly as to look at as Boise State.
It's uglier. The red field.
The red is right.
Oh,
and we have to look at it at least once a year.
Bad. It's really bad.
So for our listeners,
tell
them what your job entails. What does Learfield Sports have to do with the University of Montana sports program?
So Learfield Sports is a company out of Jefferson City, Missouri. At least that's where they started. Now they're based mainly in Plano, Texas. But we have contracts with 130 schools all over the country. And
a lot of them bigger schools than here.
A lot of them bigger schools. But This school actually, from a standpoint of production, is pretty on par with a lot of schools that Oregon State, some of the Mountain West schools. I mean, it's a good property.
We were talking in the lead-in about how popular the Griz logo is, and Monty as a mascot is, and we have for a school this size, we have a bigger footprint than we probably should.
Oh, it for sure. And so what does Learfield do for the school? Really, I think the easiest way for people to think about it is we're just another department within the athletic department. There's marketing, there's facilities, there's ticketing, there's all this stuff. We just happen to be the department that sells the ads that you see in the stadium, the radio show, production of that with you guys, the promotions, any of the
licensing
things that
of the logo, use of the logo, and
predominantly, there is a licensing department at the university, but we pretty much handle any of the athletic type of stuff. So, yeah,
keep going.
But Learfield, what we do is we pay a guarantee to the school, so we are a third party, and Learfield is really found, and there's other companies called IMG, Fox Sports.
Sure, we know IMG.
All those guys. And essentially, schools have said, hey, these guys can do it, better, and so let them do it. Concentrate on this stuff. We don't have to pay the salaries. We don't have to pay all this type of stuff, and all they're going to do is write us a check at the end of the year, in its basic form. So that's really where Learfield kind of became what it became. And now we're a humongous company with a lot of properties.
So how do you deal with the other humongous company in the industry, which is Nike? It never used to be 20 years ago, but now you see the swish almost on. I don't know how many of the 130 schools you work with have Nike, but probably most of them do. How do you deal with them in terms of, if they come up and say, this is the kind of helmet we want you to use, or this is the kind of design we want to use? How do you work with somebody that big?
And I'll tell you, from the Learfield side, we don't deal with it at all.
Really?
That's completely in Kent Haslam's domain.
So the athletic director handles it.
Yeah. And it goes beyond him, too, to the whole school and things like that. And obviously, Eric Sprunk being a graduate, there's a nice connection there
For our
with
listeners,
Montana.
Eric Sprunk graduated the MBA program at the University of Montana and is number 2 person in the Nike corporate.
Which is incredible. Listen, our guest is Todd Rahr. He is the general manager of Learfield Sports and Grizzly Athletics here in beautiful Missoula, Montana, University of Montana. Proudly supported, our show is, by Don Maddox Glacier Sotheby's International Realty. Arnie.
So we are in football season and in football mode, but obviously there are a dozen or more other sports that are at the University of Montana. Lady Griz, the basketball team, soccer, tennis, volleyball, all the rest. Yeah. And you have to interface with all of them in terms of doing this. So this is more than just selling football tickets or generating revenue. You have to encompass or have a knowledge base about all of those sports, which is probably a different experience for you from working for a minor league baseball team.
No doubt about it. That was probably the biggest transition for me is, in baseball, you have outfield fence signs, you got radio, you've got program, things along those lines. Well, 12 different programs having the same exact stuff, and then some on top of that. The rate card and the amount of inventory is just staggering compared to what a minor league baseball team has. So that's been an adjustment, but basically it's, in a nutshell, the same thing that we did there, which is help businesses market to the sports fans of the area. And in this area, luckily, we have got a huge sports fan base.
Everybody, essentially.
And I remember one of the things we always used to say, kind of joking around in baseball was, man, I wish we had alumni. Because in pro sports, you don't have that die-to-the-wool, true love for something regardless on wins and losses, although I know here wins and losses are extremely important.
The win part.
Absolutely. In pro sports, it's just not the same. And so it's really kind of cool being into, again, that college atmosphere, to have that lifeblood run through the entire community.
Access.
I mean, you haven't been here long enough, but you will hear all the stories, I'm sure, soon enough. But there's a time not that long ago where a football coach would go 9-2, and the fans would be talking about replacing him because he had too long. I mean, most college coaches would kill for 9-2.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, and when I went to the University of Cincinnati, their football team was not what it is in this era. And the most wins they ever had were 6 during
Is that
4
right?
years. You know, and about an hour before the game, I would say, you know, Scott, you want to go to a football game? You
Right.
just walk into the stadium and sit wherever you want. Here, you're 9-2. You sell out every game, and they're talking about replacing the coach because it's not an
Exactly.
undefeated season.
No, I mean, that's a double-edged sword. You know, part of that is just awesome because, you know, it shows the type of history that we've had here. But at the same point, it's unrealistic because it's never going to last forever. I remember, again, being in Washington with the Don James era, and it was kind of the same thing. And I remember one time, I can't remember the year, I think it was 85, we lost to Oregon State 23-21, something like that. And it was like, Don James needs to be fired. Now, wait a second. This guy just won or finished number 2 in the country like within 2 years of that game. And it was like
let's ask
ridiculous.
Quick question, though. So then the product, right, that we put on the field is really important.
Yeah.
Right. But what else? What do you have in store now since you've been here for a couple of months and you're kind of in your planning phase for Grizzly Athletics and what's going to happen, you know, for advertisers and at the stadium for our fans that you want to share?
You know, really the time frame that I got here, 60 days, hard to really change a lot.
Right.
So, you know, you're not going to see a ton of different stuff going on out there. What we're going to try to do is just build on our customer service this year, especially deliver what we're promising, make sure that everything goes well, and then really start implementing a lot of stuff, you know, hopefully in the future. Now, when I say a lot of stuff, I mean, we're not going to be giving away, funerals or something
Koozies.
like that. You know, we do koozie giveaway up in the Canyon Club, but you know, there could be more of that stuff on the in the coming years. We'll see how it goes because we just signed a new deal with the university too, and you know, Learfield did, and the rights agreement, you know, it continues to go up in the guarantee. So we've got to find some other revenue streams to be able to do a lot of this, and you know, who knows what a lot of those will be, but. The cool thing is it just seems like media is ever changing and ever evolving. So, you know, what other things can we do? I mean, here's an interesting thing: is we got questions from Learfield corporate talking about esports,
right?
And you know, one of the things that you're not going to see during the football season, but you will for the basketball season, is we're going to have a new center hung scoreboard, video scoreboard that's going to have LED. I mean, it's going to be completely different and a great, fan experience.
Well, it's going to be a good draw for the fans
deal.
to come
Absolutely.
look at that and participate with it.
But esports came up, and esports is becoming humongous around the world. Huge.
Yeah.
And so
tell our listeners what esports are.
So esports is essentially a team of video game players playing on a video screen and fans watching it. And these things are drawing 20,000 people in Southern California.
That's crazy.
And 50,000 in Japan. I mean, it's nuts.
Well, it begs the question, okay, I was going to bring it up because a lot of, like we were talking at the beginning of the show, Arnie's and my generation and our generation is Sunday and Saturday and Sunday in the fall, all the way up until the Super Bowl. We're all in our man caves. We're watching we're watching sports. We're reading the sports pages. We're looking at websites.
Yeah.
The 2 generations after us, the kids, like my son, who's 14 or 16 now, he will not watch the Giant game on CBS or on Fox, but he'll play the game with his friend. He'll play NFL 2017 or whatchamacallit, Madden. He'll play Madden 2017 and play the same 2 teams that are playing on live on TV, but he'd rather do it as a game.
Well, because he has a interactive role in it. I mean, that's part of the experience.
But he almost doesn't care about the outcome of the real game.
Right.
Isn't that incredible that it's become that?
Well, it's personalized.
And I think that's what we've become as a society is we want to be involved in everything. I mean, you look at Facebook.
Yeah, you're right.
Are we really involved with everybody's life? Well, we certainly feel that way because we're watching the posts, right? And so I think that, fantasy football, for instance, back in the mid-'80s, I think kind of started the whole shift in people thinking about how they watch and consume this game. It wasn't about the teams anymore. It's about, hey, what player is making me the most points, even though he plays on the enemy team.
Sure.
I'm a fan simply because he's going to win me some money. And now today, with the video games, and especially as good as the stuff is from a visual standpoint,
it looks like a real thing.
It looks like a real thing. So what's the difference to the kids of today? And it comes down to the classic. Do we have the attention span anymore to consume the things that we used to consume?
One of the things in a few days that you're going to see is that at least in Missoula, Montana, when it's a Griz game going on, there is complete focus. And in fact, not my tip to you, but just so you can watch this, there are only 2 benchmarks.
Yeah.
One is winning the Big Sky, and then as soon as that happens, that's good. But now we have to win the national championship. And one of the things that you've observed, but you haven't been integrally involved with, is that the playoff system is it's just crazy that a team, for example, like North Dakota State could do it 3, 4, 5 years in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to go through, something that no other college team has to go through anymore.
Yeah.
You got to go
get
through
there.
5 games. You got to get 5 games additional after your season is over to win the national championship.
Well, I'll tell you, that was one of the appeals of coming to Montana was the idea that, hey, we've got playoffs at the FCS level. I love that.
Right.
To
it
me,
should be at the other level.
Extra bites of the apple.
Absolutely. It should be at the other level. And, this makes it a lot more fun.
You're
in my
leading
mind.
to something. Let me so back to kind of the notion of how people are dialed into sports differently than they were in past generations.
Yeah.
What's around the corner? You have fantasy sports. How about gambling? Legalized gambling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it ever hit the NC? Does it ever hit the college level? Do you think? Where like a DraftKings or
Well, it has in Vegas. You can bet on college.
Well, college in Vegas you can, but how about it's in your pocket on your smartphone, and you're able to gamble across state lines and.
I think that the federal government has certainly shut down a lot of the DraftKings things and things along those. And heck, I mean, you think about it. When's the last time I saw one of those ads? You don't see them anymore because they're being shut down.
We have enough
states.
Addictions in America to have it so much easier to gamble on a weekly basis.
We do, but we know gambling is one of the greatest sources of revenue and income for a state, right?
Yeah.
But you are seeing, I think, with some of those gambling states, you're seeing the major leagues are investors in those, right? So does there ever become?
Well, they want to control.
They want to control everything.
They want to control everything, but they also want to control, the gambling and what's allowed and things along those lines. I think college sports will be the last thing. When you take pro sports and college sports, it'll be the last one that will adopt that. I mean, we don't even have beer in the stadium yet, and to me. I'm not going to get on my high horse about that, but I know one of the questions I get, even when I was down in Boise State, we would talk about this. How do you keep people in after halftime?
Right.
Well, one, don't let them in if they go out, and number 2, beer sales is
they go out. People at Griz
people
games,
go out, and that's what they do.
Most of them miss the first 10 minutes of the second half because they're out, eating and drinking, and then coming back into the stadium.
And I think that's where sports is today also, is it not necessarily about what's happening on the field. Luckily, we have a fan base here that really cares.
Right.
But it's more about that overall package, the experience, how do I entertain clients? How do I, enjoy the game in a different way, which is, with my neighbors at the tent next door, having a beer, having some brats, whatever, and then going in the game. Yeah, I might be in 10 minutes late, but hey, we're gonna still have a good time at the game. And so I think until we learn how to make all of that work together properly, it'll be the way it is.
I think one of the things that you'll experience here when you see the football at this level we're fortunate. We have 9, or we might have by the beginning of the NFL season 11 former Griz playing in the NFL,
which is awesome.
Mark Mariani will be picked up by somebody, and probably Dan Carpenter, and that'll make 11 or so. But most of the players that you'll see in the Big Sky are playing for the love of the game.
Yeah,
they're not here because they're looking for a pro contract.
No, and I love
the level
that.
of the intensity because of that, particularly when you get to the Montana State game at the end of the year. I mean, that's like a blood rivalry. I haven't seen that. I mean, you went to school in Ohio. Ohio State, Michigan State. That's about the closest. Except these two schools are they're in the same state, and they share. A lot of the players play together all the way from high school to college, and the intensity of that game leading up to it, and the actual game day is a rarity in sports. It's sort of the true embodiment of what competitive NCAA athletics is all about.
No, and I think this is the level where the purity of sports is still pure.
Right.
Because these kids, I think you got a heck of a lot of talent at this level. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of these kids are the ones who certainly are overlooked. Maybe they were just a little smaller, a little slower, or something. And they didn't make it to a Pac-12 school or even a Mountain West school. And so to really get that education and really, put in their time with this sport, it's because that's what they want to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
and that's the feeling you get at the games.
Yeah.
The parents are there, the friends and relatives. A good number of our students, as well as Montana State students, are from in-state.
Yeah.
And so there's this, great lineage and history that ties in here.
Well, I'll tell you, another thing that drew me to this place also was, Learfield will ask you when you first get hired. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but they ask you, where are the 5 places you want to go after this, because I think most people who get into my job, this is their stepping stone. Well, I'm an old guy, so I'm ready to stay here until I retire,
Right.
But long story short, you pick these 5 towns, and I picked all these ones in the Northwest. I'm not looking to go to Alabama or North Carolina or any of those type of schools.
You don't want to be the GM for the Savannah Bananas.
Amen. But to me, when you look at the state, Montana is just as big and just as relevant to the people in this state as Alabama is to their state.
Of course.
And I think
That's right.
And I think the rivalry between the Bobcats and the Grizzlies is just as intense, maybe even more in some ways, than Alabama and Auburn. So to me, the end all isn't just because you have this TV contract with CBS or whatever. To me, it's about your town. It's about the rivalries. It's about the passion that's going on right here. Point. And to me, this is the pro team of the state of Montana.
Sure.
So how could you get any better than that?
A few weeks back, we had Robin Selvig on. We have Lady Griz. In 34 years, 865 wins, 11 games in the NCAA tournament. Travis is running a heck of a men's program. They were just down in Costa Rica. Again, our men's basketball team is trending upward. Our softball team was great. They just cherry-picked. I was in Missouri. Just cherry-picked our softball coach.
Sure,
Jamie Pinkerton.
Oh yeah,
we have some good programs here beside football.
Yeah,
and we're obviously focused on football because it starts in a couple of days. But
and
the other sports here are also very relevant.
And as we're out there talking to people about our sales packages that we talk about, basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball, obviously very relevant as well, and people want to be involved in that. But softball's become really big thing, and
it's particularly important with you. I don't know how many in attendance at Boise State women's basketball games, but
many.
But you come here, and it's as much as the men. I mean, you got 35 up to 5,000 people at a lady college basketball game, which is in this region.
It's enormous.
Pretty enormous.
Let's do a quick ID. Our guest is Todd Rahr. You're listening to What Do You Know on Newstalk KGVO. He's the general manager of Grizzly Athletics. Todd, when you're not working, What are you doing for fun here in Western Montana?
Putting out fires.
Well, since I've been here,
Is that what you're doing?
I'm not doing a very good job of it, obviously. No, my wife and my 3-year-old son, they're still down in Boise right now. So
okay.
They won't be up here till the middle of the next month. And a lot of my time since I've been here has been spent at my desk or in my apartment just hammering away on the computer trying to catch up on things.
Okay.
Because, we had kind of a gap there where we didn't have a GM,
right.
For Grizzly Sports. So, anyways, it's a catch-up thing. But the other thing that I've had a lot of fun with is every time somebody wants to have a meeting, it seems like it's either at lunch or it's out to have a beer. And this town certainly has plenty of that available to it. And so I've probably gained 15 pounds since I've been here simply because the one thing that I think they like to do here more than watch football is drink and eat.
Yeah.
And
well, it's interesting.
I'm in for that, I'll tell you.
It's interesting. You were at Athens at Ohio University, and there are other towns in in Ohio like that, like Oxford, where Miami of Ohio.
Miami.
They do not have the beverage and restaurant base that we have here in this town.
Oh, absolutely not.
And so this is a college town plus.
Absolutely.
And that's what's one of the great attractions for.
And that's why I think it reminds me a lot of Eugene.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why the business community is so actively involved in the future of Griz Sports, because on a weekend here, you have all the hotels are filled, all the restaurants are filled, and you have a carnival atmosphere, for the 6 home games a year that are here. It brings in millions of dollars worth of revenue.
Absolutely.
And so having a good product on the field, but also having all the good accoutrements, all the Griz sportswear, the latest look, the latest design, and maybe you can speak to that. I mean, there is an interest in Griz logo products beyond just the Missoula community.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Licensing with the university, they're the ones who got these things put into place. Did a heck of a job with the script Griz, with the charging bear, all these in the paw. All these logos are strong. The school colors are really strong. I think that
you saw the old school colors. Remember silver and
copper?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, even those, using them once in a while works. And so, all those combined, along with the fans and the passion you have behind it, certainly just make it that much better. And I'm excited because the brand means a heck of a lot in this state,
right?
And in the region. It really surprised me with our radio network that we have a affiliate over in Spokane.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wow. That says something about where the Griz Nation really resides. It's throughout the Northwest, but I had somebody tell me that they live down in California, and they were at a bar one day, and there was a ton of Griz fans down there for I think it was for the opening game against North Dakota State. What was that, a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And
the one we won here, we beat Carson Wentz.
Exactly. And so, people are all over the country. It's a very passionate fan base, and the logo certainly goes with that.
Well, when we're in the playoffs, or certainly in the national championship, there are Griz parties at bars all over the country.
Oh yeah,
I think one year I was in San Diego or Los Angeles, perhaps when they were in the championship game, and there was a bar. Come and watch the Griz, and it was packed with Griz fans.
Oh yeah.
So it's that. That's an exciting piece of what's going on.
And I also think having the Grizzly name. How many more Grizzly schools are there out there? So
there's
we've
the Memphis Grizzlies, but they don't do a very good job of marketing.
No, they
exactly. And that's a pro space, and from the college standpoint, that is a strong name.
It is.
It really is. So that helps.
So we have a game coming up, the opening game on September 2nd, and it's a whiteout game.
Yeah.
So tell our listeners what a whiteout game is.
So what we're asking is for every fan who comes out to the game to wear white. Literally, we want the stands to have no other color. Well, maybe a little maroon here and there, but no other color. just white.
That's nice.
And so,
show their solidarity.
And you could
show
buy
the solidarity.
And you could buy your whiteout T-shirt, right?
You can. Numerous places.
Around campus.
You know, the bookstore, the M store, Universal Athletic, all those places have the whiteout shirts. But even if you don't buy one of those, you know, just wear white.
It's like Puff Daddy. You know, he has the white party out on the Hamptons.
That's right. This is
a lot more interesting.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our final moments with General Manager Todd Rahr from Grizzly Sports in Learfield. Back after this. We are back.
So the university adds a different element we haven't talked about yet. You know, we got 12,000 students. Their parents and friends come to visit them. Mm-hmm. We have international students.
We do.
So I have a two-part question for you. How does the university fit into the Destination Missoula landscape? And then secondly, because we have the Mansfield Center, we have a lot of foreign students. What are we doing about attracting foreign visitors to Missoula?
Okay, those are two really good questions. So we try very hard to partner with the university. We've been working with them on their recruitment and on materials to be able to use for that.
Right.
Because most parents, you know, feel much more comfortable if they know about a community that their kids are going into, right? Not just the school. And so we've already got these materials with the budgets that the university has right now. You know, we can enhance what they're sending out,
sure.
and they vice versa. You know, we're giving data back and forth to each other all of the time.
Right.
So we're trying to partner with them in multiple ways.
Right.
As far as the international students go,
or to international tourists,
tourism, we actually work with Brand USA, and we also have a network of 5 states around us who all gather together. It's called Rocky Mountain International, and we do international marketing as a whole. Right?
And do we target certain places?
We have offices in the UK, in Germany, and
we'll get a lot of German tourists for sure.
What we saw this year was a huge explosion in Australians coming. You know, so we've got, and of course, you know, our parks are drawing the Asian visitors more and more, and as our flights are opening up, it's
50,000 Germans that are members of Native American clubs in
Is that
Germany
right?
that study the whole history of the West and are fascinated by, you know, Buffalo Bill and all that kind of thing.
It's got a huge fascination. It's got a lore all of its own, and they want to experience it. You know, that's why people are traveling anymore. They want to come for an experience. They're not just coming just to see something. They want to be a part of, right?
You remember those old Western, you know, scenarios in the early movies where the barons would come over from Europe and go out and hunt buffalo on get off the train. And, I mean, that was their experience back then. You know, it's a little bit different one now, but there still is that.
Right, sure.
But people want the authenticity of it. Right. You know, they don't want anything staged. They want the authenticity of it. And I think that that's something that, you know, the 7 tribes in Montana have a huge, you know, ability to step
that's
into
an important.
that market.
That's you know, it's over 6% of the state's population is Native American.
Yes.
Right.
That adds another element to the tourism.
Yeah, the history is just amazing.
So let's talk about something that's coming up very quickly, which is
tomorrow.
That's right. Tomorrow is the eclipse. So where do we see it from here? What's the deal?
Okay,
what's
so
our percentage?
our percentage is 92%.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so it's pretty good. It's not bad. There's only very small parts of Montana that are total, so they're down like in Yellowstone, the very tip of Yellowstone, and Lima, of all places, is in the path of totality. So, you know, most people are not going to want to travel to that. So we do have one event going on in Missoula, which is being sponsored by the public library, right? And they're doing it in Kiwanis Park, and they're providing, they've got a Facebook event set up, and so they're doing it in Kiwanis Park, and they are providing for people who've signed up the glasses so that everybody's safe being able to watch it.
Because I know on Amazon there's a 2-month wait for glasses.
Yeah. It's crazy. But so our part of it begins at 10:15 in the morning. It is at its maximum peak at 11:31, and it ends at 12:52. So their event in the park is going to be from 10:15 to 1:15.
So it's about an hour's worth of eclipse.
Right.
That's pretty good.
It's just a matter of seconds, as far as the total, right? But yeah,
it starts moving.
If we were back east and somebody was inviting me to a park and it goes dark for an hour, I'd watch my wallet. Not here.
No.
So the other thing that's going on, so I thought it was kind of funny because all of the department up at the university, I figured that they would be doing something fairly major, right? Well, they're all the whole department is traveling to wherever totality is, so they're gone. So they're not doing anything. But down at the college the Bitterroot College in Hamilton, they are doing an event which sounds really fun. So they're going to be doing theirs from 10 to I think their peak is 11:30, 1, 2, and they're going to have an on-site expert there who's got a doctorate, PhD in physics. To be able to answer questions. They're going to have some telescopes there that are going to be for use. They're going to have glasses for everybody. They're doing info booths about all of the information about what makes the eclipse cool. And they're going to have activities and food down there. So that could be fun if you want to travel 40 miles down to Hamilton.
Sure.
Arnie, you want to do any of that?
That's all fake news. There's no eclipse. And the Earth's flat.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
What other events are coming up?
What other events are coming up?
So we've got some big ones coming up that I'm really excited about that I want people to know about.
Yes.
And our biggest one
If you're excited, we're excited.
Yeah, well, this one is big for Missoula because it has potential to really get us into some other big events. So we're going to be the hosts of the USA Cycling Collegiate Mountain Bike National Championships.
Wow.
In October.
That's a big deal.
And we've got those coming in for the next 2 years up at Marshall Mountain. It's a really big deal.
How many people do you think we're expecting for that?
Oh, we'll have thousands of people coming in.
Wow, that's cool.
It's going to be cool because you've got over 200 collegiate final people coming in, athletes to participate.
That's
but then
fantastic.
you've got all the people who are coming to watch it.
Right.
But what this gives us the ability to do, we've been chasing this for a long time for these USA events. And, a community this small, they normally, without the infrastructure, they normally don't do them. Right. And so if we can pull this off the next 2 years and we can give them the Missoula experience that we know that we can, like we've done with the marathon and events like that, then they will allow us to start bidding on the professional events, the USA professional events.
That's really tremendous.
Yeah. So this is a big one.
It's a perfect fit for us, even though they don't usually choose towns this size.
It
makes sense for them.
It's a perfect fit, and it's going to be so much fun. So
and the weather's great that time of year.
Right, and I hope people just turn out en masse to cheer them on and to experience it.
Okay,
because
give me
it's
some
going
more.
to
I
be a
like
great
that
event.
one. Give me some more.
So we've also been able to, and this is kind of funny, but we've been able to finally get the MHSA state soccer into Missoula because of the new regional park. And the facilities out there, it's
great facilities.
Oh my God, they're the best in the state now. So that's coming in October. That again is going to bring in, probably at least 1,200 people. I mean, when you look at
good.
Barb,
the number of teams.
I've heard that Fort Missoula is the largest regional park between here or Spokane and Minnesota. Is that possible?
It's possible for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they've done
great facilities
in Missoula.
If you haven't been out there, you need to go out and you need to walk it because you can't see it all from the road. It's spectacular.
Yeah, they did a great job, fantastic job there.
Right. So we've got the state parks directors from all over the country coming into Missoula in September for a big conference.
Great.
So there's just lots of really fun stuff that we're starting to see that we have the facilities and the infrastructure now to do.
Well, you're doing a heck of a job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
So if people, our listeners, want to give you some input, advice, comment, kudos, pat on the back, how do they get a hold of you and how do they get a hold of Destination Missoula?
Well, there's lots of different ways. You can go in and you can look at our website, which is destinationmissoula.org, and you can interact with us through that.
Right.
We also are on social media, so our Facebook, our Twitter, Instagram, and those are Visit Missoula. And then, of course, you can always just give us a call, too. So.
Right.
That's a nice thing about Missoula and about Destination Missoula. You
Yeah,
can
have
just
the people
walk
come
up
on the
there.
show, give us their home phone, their personal numbers,
I
and give
know.
them a call.
Or come down to our visitor center. We're in the MSO Hub building, which is on the corner of Main and Main and Higgins at 101 East Main. Come in and talk to us. We love to have people come in.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful. Well, Barb, thank you.
Thank you.
You've been a great guest.
So
we'll have you back
Delightful.
as
I would
some
love
of these
that.
events unfold and as the seasons change.
Appreciate that. We
we
really
enjoyed
appreciate
you visiting and look forward to seeing you again.
Sounds good.
All
Thanks,
right,
you guys.
Arnie, I'll see you next Sunday,
Yep.
okay?
Next week, Scott. Take care.
Bye. Thank you for listening to What Do You Know?
I can't wait for the next show, Scott.
I'm excited too, Arnie. If you'd like to suggest a guest, send me an email at scottrichmond@townsquaremedia.com. We'll see you next week. And thanks for listening to Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290, 1015 FM, and newstalkkgvo.com.